Hello and welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming's 2019 edition of our 50 favorite games.
First, we're going to start off with the Prelude. We're going to give you the games that have fallen off the list, which kind of surprised us.
And we'll end it with our number 51, so you know what just didn't quite make it. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Lucas. Let's start right here. Last year, you spent a good 5 minutes of folks' YouTube airtime explaining how the complicated, ridiculous method of creating your list. How did you do it this year?
First and foremost, for the record, it was not either complicated or ridiculous. It was
convoluted.
It was chip math. This year, I went much simpler. I want to give a shout out to the creators, and I wish I would have actually written down who this person was, but the creators,
website's Pub Meeple.
Okay, yeah, Pub Meeple, the board game ranking engine. Mm-hmm. This is a really good, and I mean, it's not just for board games. You could could put a list of beers on there and do it if that was your thing. But it's a really, really good tool to take a long list and pare them down into what you like. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of using maybe bubble sort or something like that, you know, as you're kind of manually doing it. But it's just going to show you two of your choices, and you just pick left or right. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the Tinder of the board game world, I guess. Right. Swipe left. So I used that twice, and I saved the list. And then I just took those, and since it told me, you know, here's your rank 1 to whatever, I took those two lists, and I said, okay, add up the rank from this list, the rank from this list, and then sort that list by the lowest to highest. Mm-hmm. And that meant that naturally, if a game had two very low scores, it went to the top. If it had, you know, a low and a high, it kind of middleized. And then, you know, if it had two high scores, it stayed at the bottom. So did that, sorted, and bingo, bango, here we are.
I didn't bother with the dual lists and the sort, but I did the same thing. I used the board game ranking engine on Pub Meeple. And I took last year's favorite 50 list. Mm-hmm. That was my starting point. And pasted it in there, and then I went to, I reasonably disciplined on tracking my plays on BGG, and I just put everything that I played this year that wasn't a duplicate of something that was already on the list. Because I feel like if it wasn't on the list last year and I didn't play it this year, I don't know how it could jump on the list. So that's true. That kind of gave me my whole list, and then I just sorted them and ranked them.
Yeah, I did the same way to set it up. The way I am, I'm so, I don't know, fidgety about going through that ranking engine, and then I look at it and go, well, is that game really,
do I
really not like that game as much as I like the other? And then so I start second guessing myself. So that's why I got to do it a couple of times to kind of, that way I know, okay, you ranked this guy high both times. It's got to be.
Right.
Well, you kind of get a median between the two. So, yeah.
You can just catch me on a bad day and I'm going to rank something low, which we're going to talk about some of the ones that fell off our list from last year.
Yep.
I guess I'll get started. So one of the games, and guys, okay, so these are our favorite games of all time.
Yep.
So just because it fell off a 50 list, I don't want you to think that I'm saying these games are no longer great, that I don't like them anymore. I still love all these games. Mm-hmm. They just didn't make the 50 list. And one of them was a big favorite of mine last year, and it's Arkham Horror, the card game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that is because there's one simple reason. I cannot keep up with Fantasy Flight's release schedule.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's true.
I have a backlog of this guy sitting on my shelf. I probably have 10 packs I haven't opened.
Right.
And so, I mean, and I play it solo, and it's great. It's such an awesome game. Really immersive into the Arkham story. Mm-hmm. I just can't keep up with it, you know. And so it fell off the list this year. Not to mention I had quite a few additional new titles come this year,
right?
So it had to take a back seat.
Yeah, I only had the opportunity to play that once, but I liked it. It was interesting. One of the key things of Arkham or Eldritch Horror is the moving around the map to the different locations, and the card game introduced a similar "where are you at in the world" type mechanic in a real interesting way in how you travel through the different locations. I enjoyed the play of it, but I totally see what you're saying. I follow a Game of Thrones living card game. And man, we went through just the other night storing away, and I bet we opened 20 of the little packs, and 2 of the larger box because we have a subscription, so every time a new one comes, it sends it to us. Fantasy Flight just shotguns them out there.
They make great games, but you got to stay up with them.
Yep. Well, for me, one of the ones that fell off, it was 49 last year, so a few more new, games come in that caught my eye and got higher on the list, which dropped it up completely off, and that was In the Year of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my favorite games, simply because I love when you have to beat the game, not necessarily against other people. So that's a type I really enjoy, and that one it squeaked off. It fell 2 places and further down, and that kind of surprised me because that's the type of game, one of the types I really enjoy.
Yeah, beat is an appropriate word for that game. I like it too, but you're preparing through each of the 12 months of the Year of the Dragon, and it is the worst year ever. You're going to have invasions and sickness and all of these various things. Only a couple of them are good things that happen throughout the month, and you're trying to prepare for not only next month, but on down the road in the year so that you can be punished less than other players so that you can gain some victory points that way. So, yeah, it made it to the table once this year that I can remember, so I can see why that would have slipped for you.
Yeah, that game, you guys had introduced me to that one right along the time that you introduced me to The Gates of Loyang. And so kind of similar themes. For me, this one is sort of the lower of the two. But I still enjoyed playing it. Like you said, Ben, it gets on you quick, and you gotta prepare. One of the things I will give them credit for is letting you know up front what the order of the catastrophes are going to be.
Yeah.
If that wasn't there, I don't think I'd want to play this game because having those come up so randomly and the game is so tight.
It is.
That if you make one little mistake off the path you need to take, you're ruined. And that's classic Euro, right? A lot of games are like that. So thankfully they show you what's coming up so you can kind of plan in your head what you're doing.
Well, I think this particular game is a great teaching tool on learning how to pre-plan for events that are 2, 3, 4 rounds down. I mean, I don't think of another game where you have that ability to, okay, in 3 turns the warlords are coming, so I've got to prepare for war, and then after that, disease, right? So you it's a great tool to learn that mechanic.
Yeah, and I think one of the really interesting pieces with that one is you're planning ahead like that, and you basically got to decide at some point, look, I am going to get hosed in this particular event so that I can prepare for a future event and minimize the damage there.
Make that sacrifice,
Yeah. My first one that fell off the list, and I didn't know what number they were last year, so I don't know that, but it was 13 Days, which is, just a little card game with a small board and some pieces you move around, simulating the Cuban Missile Crisis over the period of those 13 days in October. And I really liked this one. I've heard it referred to as Twilight Struggle Light. I haven't played Twilight Struggle, but I played 1989, which, as I understand it, is at least in the ballpark of that. And I actually would say I prefer 13 Days over 1989 because of the quick, focused game that you have going on. 1989 was a little sprawling. But basically, you're trying to provoke your opponent into launching their nuclear weapons before they provoke you into launching yours, because whoever launches first loses. But an interesting piece that somebody at this table experienced was if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you can inadvertently make choices that will launch your weapons and lose you the game, right? So there's a really nice back and forth. It's tight enough so that every decision is going to impact the balance of what's going on in the game. I really liked 13 Days, but it just couldn't make the list this year.
I really like that one too, especially because you have to not only pay attention to what you're doing, but to what your opponent's doing, so well, if he plays this, then I can't react that way, otherwise X is going to happen. So It's another one of those you have to plan.
And that you are your own worst enemy
Mm-hmm.
motif, it
was kind of the Cold War, right?
Yeah, it's reflected in Twilight Struggle as well. You can lose the game for yourself just as easily. Well, my next one is going to be a game that I really enjoy. I kind of think of myself as an amateur war gamer, and but then I don't really have a lot of friends that'll play those long games with me. But one of the games that I really enjoy is Heroes of Normandy, and this one fell off my list this year. Pretty much a combination of really poor experience I had with one of their Kickstarters and just not having a lot of opportunity to play it. So I still have a ton of stuff for it, and it's still a great game. The thing I like about it, it's a World War II, board and you could call it board and chit war game. The chits are pretty large because they have the units on them, but it's all all of their abilities and things are self-contained on the actual on the chit, right? So the unit has everything you need to know right there, as opposed to some of these older war games, more complicated war games. They have some information printed, but you really have to go to a lot of reference tables and things like that to play the game. This is a faster play. It's set kind of more comical artwork style. They kind of combine all of the World War II movies motifs like Saving Private Ryan and things like that into the game. But I really enjoy it. I like the way that it plays, and I like the speed of play, because a lot of those hardcore war games can rage on for months at a time, right? So, but yeah, we had a really bad experience with the Kickstarter from Devil Pig this year. Well, not this year, last year. I finally got all the stuff last year, and so I think it kind of tainted my opinion of the game. And as I understand, Devil Pig is kind of in some trouble, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I played that game with, I think, Brandon a couple of years ago, and I can see why it would be appealing to some folks. Just thematically, there was nothing there for me.
Yeah, I think maybe one of your issues at the time, you said you wish it would have had miniatures. It was the lack of miniatures that kind of...
No, I never felt like the miniature, not having miniatures bothered me.
It's the setting.
I guess it's the setting.
Just the World War II.
More, you prefer the more historical.
Yeah, I'd rather it be older than that or fantasy or something, right?
Yeah.
So, and I haven't tried the 40K version, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, another one that fell off my list. This one was a huge surprise for me. It was, let me find it right quick. It was 29 last year, and it completely fell off entirely, and that's Sagrada. And I really do like that game. It's very, very pretty. But with all the new games that we got a chance to play, it just kept falling and falling and falling. But I really do love Sagrada. The dice manipulation to build a stained glass and do it in a certain pattern for more victory points. I love the entire puzzle of that. It's just it didn't sustain to be in my top 50 anymore.
Yeah, I really like Sagrada. The like you said, the building of the stained glass, and it's a real fast clip of a game, right? I don't want to call it a filler. It's like a filler plus, I think. Once you know it, if you sit down with a group of say 3 or 4 people who know how to play, you can really knock a game out real quick. So if you're waiting for one more person to join your group, you bring it out, put it out, play a quick game, they get here and you're done, right? So it is really neat. It's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I liked that one too. I think it's really visually appealing in what is essentially an abstract game with a fair amount of randomness because of the dice, but you have the tools to kind of work through that randomness. I like it too, but I think that game is a prime example of why I like the focus of doing a top 50 rather than a greater number than that. You really got to rise to the top to make it into the list. So.
Yep.
My next one is going to be a massive deck building game from CMON, and that's Xenoshift Dreadmire. Fans of the channel will know I've touted the virtues of this game before, but really the reason this one fell off the list is it didn't make the table this year, and one of those reasons is if you're playing with more than 2, maybe 3 people, the length of it really stretches out, and there's a whole lot of setup in this game. So it really is an investment to play. I still like it a great deal, but the time you have to invest in setting it up and playing it, and it's even more painful if you've got new people at the table because you really got to walk them through everything. I think it really fits into that category of I'd like to play it with 2 to 3 players that already know how to play it. Yeah. And if I'm not in that situation, it's probably not going to make the table and therefore slide down the list.
Well, that one fell off my list too. One of the 3 that I was highlighting today, but it did slip too.
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about. It was a fun game, but the setup and then rules. Before I get to my last one that I want to highlight, I want to call out one for special mention. So I took, from last year, I took Kingdom Death Monster off my list completely. Just I took it out of consideration. The reason I did that is because I still love this game, especially as solo. But the cost to entry to this game, I think, is just way too prohibitive to the general public, right? You're not going to find this game for, just on the shelf. You're not going to, unless somebody is just bargain basement getting rid of it, in which you found a really lucky deal. But if you are interested in playing it, you're going to have to go and spend, $200-$300 or more to get it. So I wanted to keep my list, or try to keep my list, and I'm sure somebody will see a title on there that's either out of print or whatever, and comment below and tell me, which other ones are really hard to find. But I wanted to take that one off just because of the barrier to entry. So Kingdom Death Monster, I love the game, but it's out of consideration for that reason. The one that hurts me down, deep down, Pandemic is off my list.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, Pandemic fell off my list twice. Going through and ranking these things. I think I have 18 new titles on my 50 list this year. And I guess the inclusion of those and just other games that rose to the top this year, Pandemic fell off. And, I got to think about it from what you were saying about Dreadmire. I don't think we played Pandemic last year. So maybe that's it. Maybe it didn't hit the table. And I used Pandemic as a series placeholder, right? Sure, so when I say Pandemic, I mean, I like Pandemic Cthulhu. I want to play the one about the flooding. I want to play the new one about Rome.
Yeah,
I have not played that one yet. And I like the base game as well. I mean, I don't think we ever played any last year. And so it has fallen off my list. So that's my shocker for this one.
You've betrayed all we stand for.
I think so. I'm just gonna quit the channel.
But I can get that one right. I mean, we've been playing that game for a decade or better.
Yeah.
So I do understand it. You're wrong, but I do understand it.
No, I'm not. It's still a favorite of mine.
It's just not the top.
It just didn't make.
There are
50.
just at least 51 titles that are higher than this one. So.
Well, the biggest drop that I had off of my list was actually at 7 and fell all the way off.
Oh, my.
And that's Chaos in the Old World.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think the reason for that is we don't get it to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to have more than just 2 players. You need the full complement of at least 4 to play that game. And I mean, it's a great game if you love the Warhammer universe, the fantasy side. You're playing one of the Chaos Gods, and you're wreaking havoc and trying to ruin the realms the best, right?
Yeah.
So it's an Eric Lang, and it's an amazing game. It's tons of fun. I love it, but with everything else that we played and the fact that we really don't get that to the table that often. It just fell completely off of my 50.
Yeah. I'm going to give our audience some advice about Chaos in the Old World. It is a really great game. Really fun to play, but it's not one of these, we're in the middle of a golden age of gaming right now. And so it's really easy to have this steady stream of new titles come through, or new to you titles come through your table. And personally, for me, I find that, lately it's been like Play this game one time. Okay, next. Play this game one time. Next. Play this game one time. Next. Chaos in the Old World is built so that you need to play it multiple times because you need to play it with all of the different. It has the asymmetric players, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to discover how Korn plays or Slanesh plays, or Nurgle plays, and get that feel. This is not one you need to just form an opinion of after one play. So yeah, it is a cool game though.
Now this may fit into the hard to get category.
It may.
It's an older game, and Fantasy Flight and Games Workshop no longer have a relationship, so I don't know the ease of getting your hands on it. I was just sitting here thinking, and I know a big part of this is on me. There's an interesting split between being confrontational in like a 2-player game, or even playing a tabletop war game like Age of Sigmar or something, right? That I love to play those kind of games, but Chaos in the Old World is 100% player interactive, right? Yep. Everything is against everybody else, and it's stressful for me in that way, and that may be one of the reasons, even though I like it, I don't say, hey, let's play that game, right? Because a lot of the times, I'm just not up for that level of 4-player stress. So that could be a reason it doesn't.
The whole game is area control, so you are battling for every single piece of territory that you can get a hold of.
Yeah. My last one to mention here today that fell off of my list is not surprising to me, but it's so hurtful to me because I love this game, and that's Primetime. We did a video a few years ago comparing it with the networks. You should check that video out. It was really fun to make. I really like this game where you're put in the role of a TV executive, putting on your broadcasts for the week, and modifying demographics through marketing and PR and all of that stuff to get the right viewers to come and watch your channels at the right times. I just really, really enjoy everything about it. It hasn't made the table in a while, and I wouldn't call it light. It's just, for whatever reason, lately it hasn't been at the top of the list of, hey, let's play that. And I think that makes it come down on the list a little bit. But this one's a prime example of a game that did not make my 50 or 51 favorite games that I absolutely adore. And that's Primetime.
Yeah. Well, there it is. There's some of the highlights for the ones that fell off our list. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with the number 51.
And we're back, and it's time to talk about the game that just missed the list, our number 51, and I'll go ahead and get us started. Mine is The Flow of History.
Okay.
I think I'm learning that I like the idea of a civilization building game better than the execution, because so many of them take up our whole table and our whole night because they're just so long. Yes. And, we tend to play games with 4 or 5 players, and if you've played a Civ Builder with 4 or 5 players, you know that you are in for a beat down.
Hours.
This one changed that completely. Amen, buddy. This one changed that completely, though. It's just a card game, but the mechanics that make it work together, and essentially the combos that you can put together based on the symbols that you have are really interesting. I had started the last game we played of it with I was going to be Mahatma Gandhi, right? We were going to win this game through peace and advancement of our people. Let me tell you, that didn't last because somewhere along the way, I got these bombers that would work off of the icons I had been building for my previous strategy. And I was like, man, I can just carpet bomb everybody at this point.
Gandhi may have been tempted by carpet bombing.
Yeah, I fell to the dark side because I just started doing that. And I thought, man, that is so interesting. I'd had this whole strategy along the way, and now here was this twist, and it's kind of like, the rise of an empire, and then all of a sudden, maybe you get a bad dictator or something, and the focus of your government. That's what happened to our people.
Shifted.
But I enjoy the quick clip that it operates at. It's a very pretty little game. This one works for me on the Civ building front, in an hour or less, and I really dig that, The Flow of History.
Yeah, I like that part too. The fact that number one, it's it's cards, and the cards are really pretty too. I like the drawings on them. But I've had the hardest time finding civ builders that I really enjoy, and that one is a good game. I enjoy that one.
For me, this one is, like you said, that 13 days, the comparison of 13 days to Twilight Struggle, this is, Flow of History to Through the Ages.
Yes, it is.
And I like both of those titles. I'm willing to suffer through the 3 hours or 4 hours it takes to play. But Flow of History gives me the same feel in about 30 minutes, and I can appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah. And it looks really, really great.
Well, for my number 51, it was actually a new to the list title. And once I did the comparisons and the shifting, it may have been new for that year, but it didn't quite make it to the 50. And that was Western Legends. I really enjoy Western Legends. It's where you have to choose, like, are you going to be a marshal and a good guy, or are you going to be a bandit and a bad guy? And you have this map out in front of you, and you can run missions, or you have objectives that you can meet, and it's very sandboxy. You can do whatever you want. The missions and the objectives are just to kind of guide you. But if you turn on another player, you're going to start down the criminal track. Or you can gather cattle and take them down to sale. That's a good guy thing. So, you're starting up the martial track. So I love that each character that you play, be it, Billy the Kid, you have your own little special power once you reach a certain level of criminal. So it's a great game. It is very sandboxy, but it just wasn't enough to put it on in my 50s. But I do enjoy that game a lot.
I'm in the minority on this one. A lot of people have praised this game. And it has elements that I like. I certainly like the theme of the Western. But I think the game could have benefited from a little bit more playtesting when it comes to certain loops that you can get in the game and just run away with it. Which the counter to that is then all the players at the table have to know what that loop is. And if they do, then it's going to become,
how to break it.
Tag all, pile in on the guy that's trying to do it.
Everybody's an outlaw at that point, right? To attack the person.
And so, I didn't have a couple of quite good experiences with the game, so I think maybe that's kind of tainting my opinion of it. But like I said, I'm in the minority. A lot of people like this game.
Well, I think the first play you have of this game, it's going to be awesome. You're going to absolutely love it. And then when you play the second time around, then you're going to start saying, oh, he's doing that again. Yeah. Oh, and he's going to be a prospector. He's going to get gold, and then he's going to take that gold, and he's going to go to the bank, and then he's going to the bank. He's going to go to the brothel. Yeah. And he has this three jump loop, and it's points after points after points. So that's what he's talking about, the loops. The first time you play it, though, it's a blank slate, right? And it's just awesome. You can do all these things. But as soon as someone finds that pattern...
Right.
I don't know. Maybe there's not enough structure for me or what. I desperately, desperately want there to be a great Western-themed game. I haven't found it in this game.
Yeah. Well, I'll end it off then with my number 51, which is 51st State. Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
You did that on purpose.
Yeah, I know, right? I really like this game. Now, I like what's the other one? Imperial Settlers as well, right? This one, it has the post-apocalyptic theme, and I don't know, it just kind of resounds with me. But really great game. It's an engine building game. You're building out structures in your colony. You're trying to make deals with raiders or things that you can trade with, things like that. Collecting resources, and then ultimately trying to score points like we all do, right? That's one of Portal Games' titles, and it'll beat you down a little bit, but that's Portal Games. But I really do enjoy 51st.
It's that building that engine, finding all the little combos that you can put together and the resource cards you can use. There's a little bit of take that with the raising of buildings to kind of slow someone else down who's got their engine really clipping. But for the most part, it's not really a confrontational type thing. It's just a build.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could do a lot of raising and make it more interactive. As he was talking, I was thinking about that, and how we talked about how interactive the last one was. In 51st State, it feels like the key there is you want to break that piece of his engine so that he stops just going crazy on you, but it's not the all-out assault, right? Once you've done that, you kind of can go back to what you're doing. I like the engine building part of this, and it's, interestingly enough, a race.
Yes.
Victory points, which is intriguing.
Yeah, well, and I'll say this too: if you spend too much time raising your opponents,
you're
not building yourself.
Right.
That's true.
And so you're not really helping yourself. I mean, there are situations where you do help yourself by maybe taking one of his buildings out, but if you are just dead set on like I'm gonna bury this guy, well, you're probably not going to win either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. That's going to be our prelude episode to our 2019 50 favorite games. What fell off the list, why, and what just missed the list. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned because we're going to start with number 50 through 41 very soon. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Chip. Hit us on Twitter at Roll to Hit Gaming and go ahead and click that subscribe button. Thanks a lot.